That going to distract you?
Nope.
All right.
Houston,
What
Texas.
is up, Bigger Pockets? Chris Lopez here with my co-host Terrance Doyle. And we have a special guest. He and his team flew in from Houston this morning. They fly out in about 4 hours. We got Mr. Robert Martinez. And Terrance, this is a gentleman you've been wanting on our show for a long time. Who is he and why do you want to talk to him so much?
Mr. Robert Martinez, Rockstar Capital, is in the building, Denver, Colorado. Super excited to have you and your team here. Welcome.
Man, guys, hey, thanks so much for the warm introduction and the hospitality. The team and I, the Natalies and myself came in early this morning, and we're ready, man. We're ready to go. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, so Robert and I met on Instagram probably 3 years ago, and I think back then he had maybe less than 1,000 followers. He was just getting going.
Shit, was it that long ago?
Yeah, 3 or 4. You were just getting going on your Instagram and your social media. You met with Gary Vee shortly after that, and I was like, who is this apartment guy meeting with Gary Vee? Like, I got to follow him. And then I've just seen you completely blow things up. And I'm super stoked to have you here. It's been awesome watching you just virtually through social media as you've kind of crushed it. So I think the first question that the audience has for you is, tell us how you've been able to build such successful apartment communities consistently. I mean, you've won awards every single year. How have you done that?
Yeah, well, first of all, you just got to go to work every day. Think about the residents first, because apartment investing, the way you make your money is with renewals. The way you make your money is taking care of the residents. So you got to, everything you need to, you do, whether from the beginning to the middle to the end, has to be with a resident renewal in mind. So what we do is that when we plan our renovations, we think about, okay, what is the number one reason why somebody moves out, why a resident moves out? It's maintenance. And what's the more maintenance headache? Air conditions. So we go and replace every single air condition. When we buy a property, we just eliminated the number one reason why they move out. Now you're asking, why is that so important? Well, because all the money you make in real estate happens when they renew, not when they move in. Because when they move in, you guys are apartment owners. You got a lot of expenses. You got make-ready costs, commissions for your sales team, marketing costs, vacancy losses. And so, but if all those costs, we figured out around $3,000. $3,000 divided by a cap rate of 6, which is what we're using to buy apartments in Houston, Texas, is $50,000 of valuation. So every single time somebody moves out, you lose $50,000 of valuation. Conversely, if you take care of them, you put brand new air conditions, you make sure the water heaters are hot and consistent. We focus on basic services first before we ever put any kind of amenity. Before we put any kind of amenities in, then you increase the chance of them renewing. And when they renew, you're going to gain $50,000. And guess what? They're going to pay you gratuity in the form of a rental increase. So number one, we focus on making sure that they want to stay with us, because that's how we've done the 13 cash out refinance events the last 10 years. Then we want to make sure that our reputation management is managed by us, not by the outside community. For years, I would avoid apartmentratings.com and places like that because I didn't want to see the negative reviews. But then I decided, you know what? About 4 years ago, I said, we're going to turn this into a weapon, because when somebody moves in, aren't they happy? Then why aren't we getting a review from them? When somebody renews, aren't they happy? So why aren't we going to get a review from them? So we will drown out the noise, because the people who are giving you negative reviews are because they can't pay their rent, or they don't want to follow community policies and they're getting their car towed at whatever, right? We're all the successful stories. So we drown that out. We've been very good at reputation management. Each of the last 4 years, we've had 4 properties ranked in the top 1% of all communities nationwide for resident satisfaction. There are 131,000 communities in the United States, and 4 of our sites have been ranked in the top 1% each year for the last 4 years. It's very important.
So impressive.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. We use a company called J. Turner Research. So those of you all listening, you can write this down. They help us with that. They survey our residents for us. Third party, we get those reports. They will follow up on service requests for us. We get those reports. But the most important thing they do for me, though, is that every single day, at the end of the day, I get what's called a daily summary. And that daily summary, I see a review for every one of my communities. I have 22 communities. In those 22 communities, there's Facebook reviews, Yelp reviews, apartmentratings.com, Yahoo, Google, whatever. If there is a review for that day, I will read it.
Wow.
And it's not just me reading it, it's the rest of my operational team are reading it. And they know that I'm reading it. So they're going to respond to me first, or I'm going to forward it to them and say, hey, that's great. You got these 5 stars. What happened to this 1 star over here? Why do we have a 1 star? Why is somebody complaining about the air condition not working when I know we just spent $400,000 in new air conditioning at that property 2 years ago? What's going on? Because it's to the point to where they have to do a review. It means you're not taking care of them.
Right.
And if I get involved, it's going to get taken care of. So every night I see those reviews. It means more to me than it does anybody else. I want to make sure that the issue gets handled. And that's how you build scale.
So you just dropped some incredible golden nuggets on the audience. I want to summarize what you just said, because I come from a sports background. A lot of people listening have probably heard my sports analogies, but I call them the fundamentals, right?
Yeah.
And I think you called it basic necessities. I call them fundamentals. But what I heard you say was you take over a building, and what separates you is you focus on the fundamentals. You make sure they have hot water, consistent water, right? I'm guessing that means good water pressure.
Good water pressure.
Their toilet flushes, right? When they want to go take a shower, they have, the right amount of pressure.
Yeah.
And then air conditioning.
And
if you do, and you don't, a lot of people I see all over posting stuff on social media and blasting things, they're doing these like really amazing pools and entrances and signs and all these but you're talking about, the number one guy in the country. You're ranked number 1 or 2. You've won all the awards. He's talking about focusing on the fundamentals. Just give them basic necessities and be the best at that. And that's how it sounds like you've been able to separate
the reason
yourself.
why is those guys come in there with these big, exterior budgets, right? And these exterior plans and, whatever. They're not real operators.
Right.
I've been doing this since 2007. I'm a 2-time National Apartment Owner of the Year. I sat in that chair when I first got started, just like you did.
Right.
And I learned how to lease. I learned the make-ready process. I got lied to by residents where they said they're going to pay me and they didn't pay me. I learned how to properly manage sitting in that chair. And when I did that, I got substance.
Right.
I got context.
Yeah.
So I know that they don't give a crap about whatever amenities outside. They care about basic services. You know what? We talked about during lunch about Gary Vee.
Right.
I said, Gary, where's the apartment industry headed? He goes, let's talk about this. This is back in January of 2019. That was the second time I got to visit with Gary. And I said, hey, tell me a little bit. What can I do as an apartment owner? He's like, just make sure everything works. Mm-hmm. I was already doing this, right? It's so Gary Vee-ish, right? To just make sure everything works. Basic services, which is what I've been doing. I've been doing the air conditioners for a long time, but I never had it put together in some sort of theme.
Yeah.
It was just the right thing to do to take care of them. They provide quality housing. We do workforce housing, right? So they're hourly or they're going to be on the lower end. They're paying $700-800 a month, right? We want to make sure that, and they're probably going to be renters for a long time. So why can't they be renters with us? They're not going to leave you if you take care of them. So if you're not willing to live there yourself, you're not willing to put your mom there, then why would you expect them to renew? And so when all those things happen, when Gary said that just basic services, it led into other things that we're doing. We do washer and dryers as a standard because it's 2021. Nobody wants to go to some dank, dark laundry room that's either off-site or somewhere in the middle of the community at 3 a.m, because they had a late shift. I remember being in college. I didn't have a washer and dryer in my apartment. I had to go to the laundry room. And what happens there? Stuff happens.
I remember those days.
You get your clothes stolen. You get a lot of weird stuff going on in there, and you don't want to go there 2 or 3 at night. So it's basic services for us. If there's a connection there, we're putting washer and dryers in because it's 2021. That is a basic appliance. And if you can eliminate another reason for them to leave, they're not going to leave, and you're going to make your money.
I love that. Make sure everything works. So simple. So much value there.
So we were talking with the apartment rockstar, Mr. Robert Martinez here. We're doing our live Q&A for the Tribe of Multifamily Mentors show. We're going to rapid fire some questions at Robert here for the next 25 minutes or so.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break, record a full in-depth interview, picking Robert's background and also doing a dive into a recent deal that he's put together. So Robert, got some questions here from investors, passive investors. So Holler wants to know, triple net passive investments versus investing passively in apartments. What do you have an opinion on that?
I don't do triple net leases, so I don't know. I can't speak intelligently on that. I can tell you as a investor at Rockstar Capital, and you invest with me, it means your money's going next to mine. I'm going to sign on the note, which means my kids' money is next to you. They're signing on the note with me, right? And if you're next to me, I'm going to guard with my life. As a passive investor at Rockstar Capital, you're going to get monthly reports on the 20th every single month. Like come rain or shine, it is going to be there. You're going to get distributions every quarter. Again, because that's what's in our budget. When there's a major event like a refinance event, or there's an event like a sale event or something, we're going to have a vote. But all other major operational decisions are handled by me, the manager of the entity. And you're going to kick back, and I'm going to send you mailbox money. It's really exciting. We just did we did not discontinued distributions throughout COVID. Wow. And that's one of our big feathers in our cap, is that everybody's, going crazy during COVID. No one knows what's going to happen. We had enough reserves in the bank. We had 6 months reserves that if nobody would pay us $1, we could last 6 months. If we can get to at least 70% occupancy, we could go a whole year. And so as a passive investor, that's what you're expecting, that you're expecting an operator to take care of you and to keep that quarterly check coming.
So I think a great takeaway from there is look at the operator's interest. I mean, you're investing your own money in the deal. You have skin in the game, not just raising the capital, putting the money together.
Well, not just skin in the game. If I have to sign a recourse note, I'm going to sign on a $10 million note, a $15 million note, a $20 million note that's recourse to me. So if something goes bad, they're not coming to you first. Yeah, you may lose your $100,000 investment. I'm going to lose my investment, which is typically between 200 and 400, and I'm on the hook for whatever bad happens. Now, I'm very fortunate at Rockstar Capital, knocking on wood. We've never had a cash call. We've never lost money on a deal that we invested in. We've always made profit on every single deal. So, but I think that's the quality of the operator. There's an expression, you back the jockey, not the horse.
That's right.
And you need to just remember, who are you getting in the bet with, because this is going to be a long-term hold. Some guys have a 3-year, 5-year model. Ours is anywhere from 5 years to 10 years. In fact, we just sold a deal that we bought in 2011, and we just sold it a month ago. We held it for 10 years. We made 916% return on that deal. And as a passive investor, that's what you want, right? Now, they're not all going to be like that, but if you hold it long enough, they're going to make enough money. And throughout that time, we never had a discontinuation of distributions. We had 2 separate refinance events. How do you get a refinance event? It means the business model works. It means the NOI increase. It means you got to reappraise and pull everybody's money out to where at the end, we raised $1.1 million back then. I put $250,000 of that. I wish I put it all, right? But that $1.1 million turned into lifetime $10 million and $75,000 of distribution and returns on that deal. That's what you should expect from as a passive investor.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal answer. And I think that's why you've had so much success and had, I think just so much momentum that I've seen you growing. Speaking of triple net, I think one of the things that I love about apartments is that we're not depending on any one company or person to pay the mortgage, right? During COVID, a lot of people went out of, a lot of businesses went weren't paying, right? I have some buddies that own a lot of commercial buildings, either office or, retail. And retail, it was non-existent. People couldn't go outside. So there was no cash flow. So they weren't paying their mortgage. They were getting deferred, right? So the great thing about apartments is that everyone needs a place to live. We have a shortage of housing in Denver and in most, metro places around the country. And so you're not depending on any one person. You're depending on the middle class worker that's a blue collar worker, that he's going to need a job. He's going to need a place to live, and he's going to pay his rent. And you have hundreds of those in any one property. And so your risk is diversified across hundreds and hundreds, in Robert's case, 4,000 people versus just one company. And that's why and we have the show, is educating people on multifamily versus other asset classes that they can choose from.
So switching gears here, so we can hit some other questions here.
Hey, if you don't mind, I want to answer that real quick, because I want to add to that. So what survived COVID? Netflix. They found 11 million subscribers, and they turned into billions and billions of dollars of new valuation. Amazon, everybody was at home, so they're ordering stuff. Zoom, people are working from home. People don't want to go back to the office anymore. You know what else survived COVID? Apartments, 4 walls and a roof. You need 4 walls and a roof to enjoy your Zoom, to enjoy your Amazon, and to enjoy your Netflix. And without that, you don't got it. Apartments are damn near indestructible. They really are. And again, my career got started back in 2007. So what happened in 2008? The Great Recession happened. And it was like hand-to-hand combat. I'm either going to put you in the dirt or you're going to put me into the dirt. So we're ready. We were ready for 2000, for what happened. We've had multiple cycles in Houston when everybody was doing well. We had an oil crash in 2015 and 2014. But here comes COVID in 2020. I'm ready. The war general is ready to go, because I lived that. I've lived through all these wars. You got all these new syndicators here, and they're coming in trying to put deals together. They weren't properly funded. We had funding. We had online presence. We're ready to go. We didn't stop leasing, because Gary Vee taught me that. He said one day, find a way to put yourself out of business. I was like, what does that mean? Because find a way to put yourself out of business and then develop a defense against it. And that was making sure that our offices stayed open. So we were so ready to go to war with everybody. I was like, man, it's going to be back to what I remember. And what happened? The government steps in and gives everybody money. They print money, or there's no, like, it's going out of style. You got employment benefits, you got PPP loans, you got all kinds of craziness that went out there because the government is reflective of our society today. Participation ribbons that woke society. That's not capitalism. Yeah. Somebody has to lose. So when you're deciding to invest your dollar with somebody, make sure they understand, have you lost before? And if you have not, why did you not lose? Have you been through a downturn? What kind of reserves do you have in your account that hold us from a downturn? I was really fortunate that we had great reserves. We had 6 months of reserves. Like as I said to you before, we could receive no rent payments for 6 months and still be afloat. We didn't have to take advantage of forbearance, which, as you guys know, is a poison pill.
Right.
That is a poison pill. This eviction moratorium, as an operator, I know how to move you if I want to move you. Mm-hmm. It's very easy because the back in Texas, in the back of the apartment lease, it says very simply that if I don't fix something, you can leave. Sometimes things break.
Right.
And I can't fix it because you haven't paid your rent. You have the choice to leave.
Right. It's well said.
So I want to make this comment here because one thing I found very interesting, and we had a great lunch with Robert before we sat down to this live, and he spent a long time talking about, online presence and marketing, but it's all geared towards not raising capital, but making like the best experience for the client, for your tenant, and also how you're making the properties just distinguish themselves.
Yeah.
Which I thought was so refreshing and different because you spend so much energy and time on there focusing on that, which I thought was really cool.
I appreciate it. I have 3 passions. 2 of them are my children, Ryan and Connor. I've got a 13-year-old, 15-year-old, and if you follow me on social media at Apartment Rockstar on Instagram, you'll see me. I'm at the soccer fields, and if I'm not there, I'm at the office, and I'm constantly videoing or whatever. That is my 3rd passion, is this business. Sitting in that operator chair, you're constantly trying to find a new way to stand out. It's my job to make sure that our communities stand up above the noise. That's how we developed reputation management. That's why we understood the storytell. Why did I meet Gary Vee? Because I wanted to storytell for my communities. Why did I go visit with Grant Cardone? Because I want to understand, how do I promote my businesses? The personal branding, all that came much later. It was for the purpose of how do we storytell? And you want to make sure that your occupancy is at a certain point. You want to make sure that you have renewals coming in, but you also need to attract new people because your NOI goes up when your rent goes up. Your NOI goes up when people renew. So what if nobody leaves? Well, then I can charge what I want on the front end because I only have to lease this much, 1%, 2%, right? But what happens if people renew? If they don't renew? Now I need to lease 4, 5, 6%. What are you going to do? You're going to give away the farm, and you're not going to have any pressure on the renewals because you don't want them to leave either. Your back door is wide open. But if the back door is closed, there was renewals, you can charge more there. That creates pressure, comes back to the front end. You can charge what you want there. And you got this beautiful circle of life going on, and that's how you get your NOI up. So taking care of the residents is first and foremost in everything we do. If it's good for them, it's good for us all the way through.
I love that. I think people need to really play that back and listen. If it's good for them, it's good for us. And you do everything with the resident in mind.
Everything with
the resident in mind.
Remember that timestamp. All right. So Amir, I'm going to switch gears up in here, Robert. Amir says, I'm a newbie in real estate. What is the best path to start for someone like me?
I would do 2 things. I should do a few things. Number 1, before you invest in anything, invest in yourself. I wasn't born learning how to be an apartment operator. I'm from South Texas. My daddy worked at a fast food company for 40 years. And I thought my dream was to go work with him, to open up a store one day. And he said, no, you're better than this. Go do something else. So I found engineering, right? I went to A&M, I have an engineering degree. I went into the sales force and I learned corporate America can be a vicious bitch. And they can constantly be I want to make here. They want me to make here. And they keep pushing the goalposts so they can pay for Fred, who just started 2 weeks ago. And he has a guarantee. Well, that guarantee came out of my harvest, out of my yield. And so I joined a real estate club. And when I joined that real estate club, I learned how to operate apartments. But more importantly, I got to network with other people. And I learned the way we're talking today and we're having a good conversation. That's what this real estate club was. So you get around like-minded people all day long. You replace your old 5, your Fab 5. Remember that T-Mobile thing back in the day, Fab 5? Right. Where you replace your Fab 5 with a new Fab 5 that are all apartment owners, all millionaires. All my friends that I hang out with, my 5, they're all multimillionaires. And that sounds like a lot to some people there. I know guys that their Fab 5 is billionaires. Like you go to Grant Cardone, he's got billionaires in his top 5, right? And so you need to increase your circle of influence. And in that real estate club, it was like a giant Rich Dad Poor Dad book that came to life. And it was absolutely amazing. And when you're in there, you're going to learn. You can't help but learn. You can't help but get the frenzy and the feel. So before you buy any investing, right, any investment, you want to invest in yourself. When I walked into that real estate club all those years ago, people don't know this. I walked in with a friend, with a really good friend. And he and I were going to buy a single family house. We joined, not to be apartment owners, we joined to learn how to buy single family houses. And he decided that he did not want to spend the $10,000. He didn't want to spend the $500 to go to the boot camp, which introduced single family investing and then multifamily investing on Sunday. He didn't want to spend the $10,000 to join the club, which I get that. I mean, this is 2006, 2007. You know, we're both from like a middle, you know, upper middle class kind of suburbia there in Houston, and like, that's a lot of money and stuff. But I tell you what, it was the best $10,000 of my life. I mean, I don't even know the multiple. I'm a multimillionaire upon itself today. But I wasn't the day before I walked into that door in that real estate club. I paid $10,000 and I got it shown the map. He didn't want to pay. So he decided to go buy his own single family house by himself. And he did it wrong. He did the do it yourself after work with friends or family. And it took him a long time to get it done. It cost him money because, you know, he speeds everything in this stuff, right? You didn't understand that. Then you're doing these flips. You got to get in and going. Yeah. So what happened? The market shifted on him, right? We started to go through the recession that I talked about in 2008, 2009. And he wound up selling it, but he never made the money he was supposed to make. But the worst crime in that is that momentum is everything.
Yes.
It killed his momentum, and it got the criticism of his wife. It got the criticism of his friends, and that festered, and he wound up never buying his own individual deal ever again. I went in and I found momentum in that real estate club.
Yeah.
I never bought anything until I got fully educated. It was a whole year. I joined in January of 2007. It wasn't until December of 2007 before I put my first $200,000 into a deal. My momentum was everything.
So a great place to find events, guys. Go to Bigger Pockets, click on events or network. I'm not sure what's on the website, but they have a huge resource there of, you know, local meetups and RIA clubs and all sorts of get-togethers. But you're right. I mean, go out there and network and find people. And
then when you want to do a deal, I think you should invest with somebody else as you're doing your deal. Because remember, anything 5 units or more is considered multifamily investing. So you get the tax advantages, you get the financing advantages that you're not going to get in single family. Right. You get the what I call the magic formula, right? The forced appreciation that happens with $1 divided by a six cap is $17 of valuation. So a $10 rent bump on a 200-unit community is worth $400,000 of valuation. Isn't that crazy? I mean, where else can you do that? You can't do that in single family, but you can do that in a 5-unit property. At the same time, put money with someone that is where you want to be and draft off them. See their reporting, learn their structure, learn the process. And like, that's how I need to be doing it. These 5 units are for me. Maybe my mom, my dad are in it, right? And that's okay. I'll learn that. I can make mistakes here, but I'm going to watch what this guy's doing. And I'm going to see how he treats his investors, how he operates his deal, what he says in his narrative. And I'm going to draft off that. So that later on, because everybody, if you're doing it for 5 units, you want to get to 500 units.
That's right.
Let's be honest.
That's right.
Right. But you're afraid. So you're dipping your toe in, right? Well, at the same time, learn from somebody else.
I love what he just said, because Robert is still living that. Even though he owns over 4,000 units, cleared, millions and millions of dollars, you just put money with Grant Cardone. You put money in a Grant Cardone deal, a couple bucks in there to do exactly what you just said. Is you're trying to learn, how does he do it? How does he underwrite? What is he looking at that I'm not? He owns 2.1 billion in real estate. So naturally he knows what he's doing to some degree. And so I love that. I've never put money really with anybody else. Mm-hmm. So I love that that's how you're thinking. You know, I think there's a lot of wisdom and value in that, and something that I think a lot of people that are listening would get a lot out of.
So we have 5 minutes left. I got 2 questions I got to get to here, guys. So James says, Robert, you spoke of washers and dryers. Are these coin operated to force NOI? Why are you putting washer and dryers in your units? Yeah,
well, number one is I don't want washer and dryers coin operated on site, because then I got to share that with CoinMac or whoever the big provider is, Appliance Warehouse. I want the washer and dryers in the unit. I want them. I'd rather give them away and know that they're going to renew, and I don't spend $3,000 and I make $50,000 of valuation. To me, it is 2021. You have a stove, you have a dishwasher, you should have a washer and dryer in your apartment. I'm thinking big picture. I don't want you to leave. I don't want you to have a reason to leave, because chances are, if you're living in one of my communities, you're going to be a renter for a lifetime. I once read a book a long time ago. I thought I was going to be a car guy back in the day, and I went to work for a dealership. And the gentleman's last name was Sewell, and he wrote a book. And in that book, it was called Customer for a Lifetime. He says they're going to buy 10 cars in their lifetime. Why can't they buy all 10 from me? Mm-hmm. Well, they can through customer service and maintenance and whatever. It was a Cadillac dealership at the time. And like, well, I adopted that. Why can't they be renters with me for a lifetime? We already buy next to the schools. So chances are there's a big brother, a middle brother, a little brother, and maybe even like a little sister, because they want to have a little girl. You might have 3 to 4 in that family. They're all going to go to that school that you found your apartment in the suburbs of wherever you're investing. Why can't they stay with you? They will if you give them a new air condition. They will if you put a washer and dryer in there. Give them no reason to leave. The rent income will come through the renewals.
In Houston, another way of wording this is, in Houston, are you getting a rent bump when you put a washer and dryer in, or is it or does it just get you a better tenant?
Look, I think at a minimum, I want them to renew.
Right.
So I would do whatever makes sense financially. A washer and dryer is $1,000. That's nothing. If I can generate that that renewal and save $50,000 of valuation, I'll get that on the next turn. They won't leave me. I'm banking they won't want to leave. And if they don't want to leave, I'm not spending any money out. My NOI is going to go up.
So at a Rockstar, I love this. So at a Rockstar community, your leasing agent or property manager, whoever's on site, if someone comes and says, hey, we think we're going to terminate our lease, and they say, we really want someone with a washer dryer, you guys will install a washer dryer and not increase rent at all. Is that correct?
You obviously try to get the increase, but I'm not going to lose somebody over a washer and dryer.
Got it.
Right? Because I want you to get used to having it.
Yeah.
You know, there's a trick to get resort parking or garages. You give it to them for free for the first 3 months, and you get them used to it. And you're like, I mean, think about it. How many trial subscriptions have you started in your life where you never canceled? How many?
A lot, too many.
Yeah. How many gym memberships are you a part of? I went to a gym the other day on a Friday at 5:00. I swear to you, there was 4 times the number of people that it possibly could have held. Right. But because they had set over some memberships, and people forget, right? Or later on, right? I'm a member of 3 different gyms right now, but I'm not 3 people. I can only go to 1. Why am I a member of those gyms? Because I am too lazy to cancel and do it. Right. So it's the same principle. If you give them something like, well, I really kind of like it, and you justify it, right? $25. I mean, look, if they had to go get it on their own, they're going to spend $35 to $50 from Appliance Warehouse or one of these big companies. So put it in there, get them used to it. Their last place didn't have it.
Yeah, I love that. I think you have 3 gym memberships because you're a rock star. That's what rock stars do. Multiple gym memberships.
Today is what I should be doing.
No, that's a great perspective. Most people don't have that perspective. A lot of people that I talk to, it's like, well, can I put it in and get $50 a month or $100 instead of playing the long game on renewal?
It's the renewal. They're too analytical. These are guys that read something in a book. They've never sat down there and really, how do I generate NOI on my P&L? Mm-hmm. You generate NOI on your P&L when people don't move. What happened during COVID? Our NOI jumped 10 points. Why? Because people weren't moving. Mm-hmm. They were afraid of me. They were going to walk out their door and get the virus. It was going to get them. Rona's going to get them. Right. They couldn't go to their car. So they renewed.
Right.
They renewed.
Yeah. Vacancy is the number one expense. Number one NOI killer, vacancy.
So last question for you, Robin. We'll wrap up here. Amir K says, could you give some suggestions on how to increase rents for month-to-month tenants when they're currently paying 40% below market rent?
If they're paying 40% below market rent, you want them gone. I'm not going to give you any tips because they should go, right? Because you're there. Like, let's just do an example. Let's say rent's $1,000. I don't have my calc. Let me pull a calc out. $1,000, but they're paying $600.
Yeah, I got it.
What's $400 times 12? 4,800.
Yeah.
Divided by a 6 cap.
Divided by 0.06, 80,000.
So you're leaving $80,000 on the table there. Now, if they move out and I got to get the unit ready, it's going to cost me $3,000, which is $50,000. I'm going to win.
Right. I'm
going to make $30,000 more.
What if that's such a fascinating way to look at that valuation? I love it. The way
I own the magic formula. There's a reason why I have 13 cash out refinance events. Is because I'm a freaking 9th degree black belt on the magic formula. $1 divided by the cap rate is your valuation. I want you to move. Right. And in fact, if I could turn over the rent roll because everybody's paying $1,000, I will turn the rent roll over because I'm going to win in the end, which means my investors are going to win. That's why they put me in the chair. That's why I've raised $120 million the last 10 years, is because they understand this guy. I don't know what he does, but this guy knows how to make money. You're around for 10 years like I have been. We had a 10-year anniversary this year. We're up to 4,000 apartment units. We've raised $120 million. I'm a 2-time national owner of the year, and it's not because I'm pretty. It's because I know how to make money for my investors. That's why they re-up.
All right.
Amen.
Well, we're going to wrap up this Q&A. Robert Martinez, thank you for hopping on here.
Man, thanks for having me this drink. I got a little loose.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's just going to make the better recording. We're doing a full interview later here in a few minutes. But tell people, like, where can people learn more about you and Rockstar Capital?
Yeah, if I can just say really quick. Again, I want to say one more thing that I thought was really important. Before you invest in anything, invest in yourself. You really do. Get the education you need. Don't put your hard-earned money down, because if you lose that first time because you didn't take the steps to invest properly and do your due diligence, you're going to kill your momentum and you'll never do. Investing has been a generational game changer, not just for me and my kids, but for also my investors. If you want to learn more about me, you can please follow me on Instagram at Apartment Rockstar. I'm at LinkedIn at Apartment Rockstar or at Rockstar Capital, YouTube at Rockstar, or if you just want to be my friend, hey, I'm on Facebook, Robert Martinez. Come on. Oh, and yes, I'm sorry, I missed that. If you're looking to invest and you want to get with one of the best operators in the country, and I know that because I have the skins of the wall to prove that. You want to be part of that $120 million that we've invested, please send us an email at investing@rockstar-capital.com. We actually have an active deal right now, which we didn't get a chance to talk about today, but man, there's an opportunity for us.
Great. Robert, thank you so much. We're going to put all these show notes, links to your Instagram, all that stuff, website in the show notes. And guys, be looking at the next couple months. This interview will be coming out with Robert Martinez, the Apartment Rockstar. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.